Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Grimm Chronicles, episode 48, getting ahead of myself there. And initially this was going to be Vlogmas as well, but I'm not sure that I will do that. As some of you may know, I am doing Vlogmas, and but I think I'll keep them separate. So my reading wrap up, I finished the Trollope. That's the main news of the week, finally. And it's a really, really good Trollope. I had initially thought it was not up to, in terms of how much I liked it, the other two that I liked a lot, which were Dr. Thorne and Family Parsonage. And also, I mean, Attica Chronicles was good too, but I think in retrospect, maybe not quite as good. And now I'm thinking it is probably up there with those three, because it's just really, really interesting. And as I said in my little Goodreads reviews, I just dash them off. I just write something on the spur of the moment. There's not much thought given to them, kind of like my videos. I mean, no, there's thought, but it's sort of rambly thought. It's not cohesive. It's not like an article or anything. But there I talked about how Trollope is very good at, he is very good at the psychology of his characters, at least the main ones. It's as if they're too, so, and what I had, I talked about backstage and front stage behavior, which apparently goes back to the self in the presentation of everyday life by Goffman, sociology. And because what happens in the novel, a lot of it has to do with the maturing of a young man. It's one of his best male characters, although I did like Dr. Thorne a lot too. But it's a good character, John Eames, the young hero of the novel, because he's sort of a teenager at the beginning, and Trollope has this funny term for awkward young men, hobbledehoy, I think is the term, and how he grows out of his hobbledehoyness and his awkwardness and his inability to make good choices and to be, I mean, in a certain sense, sounds kind of terrible to say this, but in a certain sense sort of manly, but not in a toxic way at all, in a kind of, you know, adult, mature way. And we sort of see him, he has the potential all the time, which is why, you know, this is why he's Trollope's hero, is that we see him, he's brave. There's the funny sequence where he helps the Earl with the bull. But he's sort of brave in an unthinking way. He doesn't think about it. He just, and I guess that is part of being brave, is that you just don't think too much about stuff, you just do it. But then we see him kind of slowly come to terms with life, specifically his romantic life, but also, and here this is perhaps the most Dickensian of the Trollopes I've read, we see him kind of living with this cast of characters in London that are a little bit, so I was thinking a lot about this, they're Dickensian in the sense that they're, in terms of class, which is always very interesting and very nuanced in these Victorian novels, which is what I like, most of the people in this establishment that he lives in, this boarding house, are sort of, they're clinging to being middle class. They're not, you know, poor. They're not in poverty, but there's a class differential. And it's almost as if, and I'm sorry to be sort of lecturing today, but it's just, I was kind of doing a little bit of research on this, a tiny bit. It's almost in the sense of another sociological term, cultural capital. So Bourdieu, about whom I know very little, but I know, you know, I've heard the term and I've looked it up a little bit, but I would actually like to read more Bourdieu, because I do think cultural capital is one of these useful terms and exactly what he means by it. And of course, you know, it's capital, but it's not money capital. It's just how you come to inhabit or inhabit a certain social world. And we see how Eames, the hero, the young hero, whose background is pretty modest, which is why he ends up living with these people in the country. There's also a country-city divide that's kind of interesting too. The city is kind of the negative there. It's sort of more coarse, it's more vulgar. And he's sort of, we slowly see him realizing that the people he is hanging out with, his friend Cradle, and the lady who plays with her, he plays with her affections, they play with each other's affections, but they don't really care for each other that much, because the lady is just subtly shown to be not worthy of him, and not in a kind of demeaning sexist way, I would say it's kind of well done. He's very good at it not being blatant about these things, but you can just tell that Amelia, he does kind of misstep with her. This is the interesting parallel to what he was doing with her, to the main sort of anti-hero of the novel, the cad, really did it with the heroine of the novel. He breaks the engagement, and John has sort of played a little bit with Amelia's affections, but he's almost more in her net, and he has to extricate himself from the net with the help of the mother, who's sort of her mother. Anyway, so there's this sort of almost Dickensian cast of characters in the boarding house that he grows out of, and we see him sort of growing out of them mainly through backstage, thinking. We see his thinking about this and his sort of realizations of it. And I mean, it is sort of, this is perhaps not so subtle on the part of Trollope, but it kind of works for the story. There's a satisfaction to it because the Earl, the one whom he saves, is the one who sort of pulls him out of it. And his mentorship also, in terms of money, pushes him into a different social status, a higher one, much higher, because of this friendship and the fact that the Earl really likes him, respects him, and wants to do right by him. He takes him under his wing, so to speak, and it sort of gives you this sense of, well, good mentorship by someone who has something to offer in terms of cultural capital and actual capital will, especially back then, went a very long way. If it's paired with the fact that he has his potential to be a good, upstanding person anyway. It's almost like the kind of book where I would like to see a book where we see Eames later on because of the main thread. Because another interesting thing about this Trollope, unlike the other ones, is that it doesn't end with a marriage of the two main characters. I'm sorry to spoil it for people, and you really think it is going to. And I actually kind of think it's interesting that it doesn't. And it's because the heroine, Lily, so this is perhaps one area where I kind of wish I'd seen more of her backstage behavior. We don't get enough of her interior. We see her externally. We see her love for the cat and everything. And she's very sweet and very loving and very, nice and, almost too nice. But we don't see enough of the reason behind her saying no to Johnny at the end, John. And well, I mean, we see it. She just says she still loves the other guy. And it's almost as if, how can she though? And a part of me wondered if it's almost a kind of not wanting to, it's a face saving, but it can't be that. I don't know. That's not good enough. Why would you? I mean, she honestly still seems to love this person, or at least it is almost cast. And this is maybe something that Trollope is guilty of. Sometimes his positive female characters are very, very almost too good to be true. There's another person in Family like that, and I still like them. They're well written characters, but very early on in the breakup and the cad, she kind of very quickly decides that she forgives him. And that's hard to sort of understand too, at least for normal people, I think. But you know what? In a way, I like the idea of it's almost like a Buddhistic, if you truly love someone, you have to, you do forgive them. But when is it, on the other hand, is that, you do have to sort of be assertive. When does it, anyway, it's complicated. But, so I kind of liked it. It's giving me food for thought, much food for thought. That's kind of one of the reasons why I like the 19th century novels, because of the intersection of sort of different, the playing out of things like front stage, backstage. I mean, in a way that's different from a lot of modern stuff. Not to say that there are not modern novels that do it really well. In a way, the kind of sociological analysis works for, a lot of the stuff, like the recognitions. That's got a lot of that too. So yeah, very, very good book. Highly recommended if you're into the 19th century and you don't mind sort of wordy, lengthy novels. It's interesting to me how he's different from Dickens, but there's parallels too. And I think he's a little bit, time-wise, he's a little bit later. Also, I do think he is sort of Austen-esque. I think she's also kind of doing the front stage, backstage stuff, and how people change and what makes them change, especially in terms of their opinions of others. And also the German writer Fontana, who I do want to get back to. I haven't read any Fontana in a while, and I do see kind of, actually all of the 19th century people, I mean even Tolstoy, they're all kind of seem to be sort of in dialogue with each other in interesting ways. So that's that. And then actually it's kind of interesting because I'm still listening to this one, and I had mentioned yesterday in the vlog how I wasn't enjoying it, but today something happened in the novel, so I'm kind of not quite at the end. And now finally the sort of the moral dilemma of the main character, whom I actually do like. I do like the main character. Sometimes the prose, like her metaphors, turn me off a little bit, or just I just kind of like, I don't know about that. I don't know about that metaphor. I don't know if that quite works. And but now finally we're getting into the moral gist of it, and the fact that this main character has to, he sort of sees how he's being used by the system, basically, and he has to sort of assert his own understanding of what the truth is, and what to, what is it worth standing up for, especially in Texas, and he's a ranger and he's black, and all these kind of very fraught issues that he has to deal with, plus his own personal demons, so to speak. So finally it's kind of getting good. Like, it's taken a long time. Now I'm gonna get back into it and enjoy it, and maybe it will go up from a 3. I think it was at a 3, and it might go up to a 4 now. We'll have to see how it all plays out. But now finally it took a while for me to really, and I still don't think the writing is that great. Maybe it's an editing thing. If someone could sort of take some of these metaphors. So this is a terrible example, and I hope to not turn people off. But so for example, there's a scene where someone vomits, and we get a really detailed description of what it looks like, and like, we don't really need that. We don't, I still don't know what purpose that exactly served. It's like, why do people do this? Sometimes I think it's because it could be a writing school thing. It's a people want to show off their poetic prose or something, or their way with words, and I'm almost like, just don't do that. Just write your novel. I don't know. It's hard. Good writing is hard. That's the thing. I mean, and I guess even something as distasteful as that could be done in a way that wouldn't turn me off, even though the substance itself is, turn off-putting. Anyway, it's just a silly example. But and there's other examples where, like, I don't know. I can't think of any other ones right now. But that was just one. I was like, why? And then, see, I'm listening to it too. So the way you interact with the text is also kind of different if you're listening to it and reading it. And something about listening to it's like, please don't. And so that's that. And then yesterday I posted a little chunk of a little TBR tower, and I'm still sort of playing in my mind with what I'm going to start. But I did decide to just quickly try and read Tuck Everlasting, which, I'll be finished with this perhaps tonight even. It's short. So I'm not sure if I have read this, but I didn't read it. So it's an American, a lot of you probably know this work, and there is a movie of it where I guess Rory Gilmore is Winnie, which, it's a Disney movie. I don't know if I have to go see it, but so it's from 1975, which is later than I thought, and it's about, the famous interaction between this family of people who live forever and Winnie, who's a young woman. And, she set it all up in the sense that you can sort of see how she's already kind of falling halfway for the young man who's one of the people who lives forever, and she's going to grow up, and then they'll probably have a relationship. I don't know what's going to happen, but there's one, and then of course she's going to get older, and he's not. So, and there'll probably be some question of, well, should she drink from the water? I have no clue how. So I don't remember even if I did read it. Yes, so yeah, that would be a quick read. It's a nice, apparently she drew this picture herself, so that's nice. This was one of my library sale books. And after that, I'm not sure, I'm looking at the pile over there, and we'll see what happens. So yeah, this is my colorful lights partly for Vlogmas. And yeah, that's about it for this week. I'm sort of like in Vlogmas mode. I feel like I need to talk more, but I don't need to talk more because it's just about the books. And I hope everyone's doing well. And I will be back next week, and probably the same thing. I'll probably just do it separately. So yeah, I'll talk to everyone soon, and thanks you for watching either Vlogmas or this one. I love the comments and all the sort of good words after my little sort of weepy talk about subscriber numbers, which, you know, it's completely fine. Getting good comments from people saying, you know, that you enjoy what I'm putting out there is all I need. So yeah, I will talk to you very soon. Bye bye, and yeah, please comment on anything you've read here or anything that you'd like to say about this. Yeah. Okay. Bye.